So, really
Yes.
loud.
Maybe we'd like to get on with the meeting.
Yeah, let's get started.
Probably we need to switch our time because that other committee is so terribly slow. They have to repeat themselves time and again. I understand that. Okay, so I'll call the meeting to order. We need a motion to approve the minutes or a motion to accept them.
Don't you need a roll call first?
Oh, it doesn't, I don't see roll calls, not written down here.
Allen. Brown.
Here.
Roz.
Alan.
Here.
Alan Pres.
Thank you. Copy. Leonard.
Leonard here.
Thank you. Sanchez.
Here.
Pirog. Shepro.
Jepro here.
Can't
Kenyon.
believe, here, I can't believe we lost Kopi.
Braz moves to approve the minutes.
Okay, is there a second?
Brown will second.
Round seconds, discussion? Want to call the roll?
Brown.
Yes.
Roz.
Yes.
Copy. Leonard.
Leonard, yes.
Sanchez.
Yes.
Allen.
Alan.
Kenyon.
But nobody is, thank God, nobody signed up to speak. And well, first of all, we'll talk to Steve Arnold, rather, our Farm Bureau man.
Hi there. Lights on.
Some of these mics don't work very well.
Yeah, I don't think that
Okay, I'll speak up. I will be brief. I did provide to all of the committee members and the staff this morning the first page of our tentative resolutions. Our County Farm Bureau presidents have gathered and looked through tentative resolutions submitted by county farm bureaus that will be voted on by delegates to our annual meeting in December. And I thought you might be interested in the first submittal, which was on urban agriculture. So this is a proposed policy statement for the Illinois Farm Bureau in support of urban agriculture. There are about 25 additional pages. I didn't print all of those for you, but again, I thought this might be of interest. There are some particular topics that may be of interest to individuals here. I'm looking directly at Jody in terms of some of the policies on drainage. But I wanted to provide this morning. I apologize. I was not able to bring issues of our July Kane County Farmer. We just went through a very successful Kane County Fair, a nice, cool week that seemed to drive attendance to the county fair, and we gave away all of our Kane County farmers at the county fair. I also apologize. I intended to bring membership applications this morning for the complimentary memberships. Those of you who are not members, who have not received a Kane County Farmer yet, the reason is I need to get signatures on the membership applications in case the U.S. Postal Service or the Internal Revenue Service ever decides to audit our records. So I will bring those applications next month and we will get that complimentary membership established. The only other thing I'm going to announce is when our August Kane County Farmer comes out, we just proofed it this morning. We are doing a drive-through barbecue fundraiser for our not-for-profit foundation on August 12th, which will be a week before your next meeting. And I intended to provide you this morning a 2021 report to donors and contributors for our not-for-profit foundation. Unfortunately, I was interrupted by the Fox River and Countryside Fire Department coming in to do a building inspection. I think I left them on the printer when I left the office this morning, so my apologies, but that concludes my report for today.
Are you going to sell tickets to this event, the drive-through barbecue, or is it free?
It's not free, interestingly enough. So our Kane County farmer will have information on it. It's Faye's Barbecue, which I think is actually doing the county's picnic. I don't know if it's an appreciation picnic, but it's 2 pork chops or pork chop and quarter chicken, or 2 quarter chickens for $15 if paid in advance, $16 if you drive through. And so it'll be set up in our parking lot. We've not used Faye's before. We've not done this kind of fundraiser before, but we will see how it goes.
You have a time?
3 p.m. to 7 p.m.
And what date was that?
There's a question for Janice Hill.
I got
Can I
this. I don't.
make a comment to Steve about his policy?
Only if you
policy
speak so
statement?
I can hear you.
Okay, yes. Can I make a comment to Steve about the County Farm Bureau policy? Steve, something just maybe to consider and take back to the farm bureaus that are discussing this. First of all, awesome that they're looking at these policies. Right now, we're working, Tony Ferrugia is actually working on a USDA Urban Ag Innovation Grant that we'll be submitting. But one thing that we have learned from applying to USDA is that they have their own definitions of what is considered urban and what is considered peri-urban. And so, not that you have to follow USDA by any means, but there is a distinction in their definitions between urban and peri-urban or metro edge. So for us, for example, we have both. We as a county in general are obviously metro edge, peri-urban to Chicago, but we also have places within our county where urban farming exists within Elgin, Aurora, our other communities. And granted, all these types of production could happen at either location, but the definitions of what is considered urban or metro edge, when people see the word urban agriculture, certain things come to mind. And if you say metro edge or peri-urban, other things come to mind. So just passing that on because USDA makes a distinction between the two.
Thank you.
Question, Mr. Chairman.
And
Hi, it's me again.
it's a tough question. You
Um,
replaced Deborah Allen.
How do community gardens count?
Well, they could be in any location, obviously,
Okay,
right?
but that's what I think of as
Right.
our urban farming would be,
Well,
our community
They
gardens.
could be in a rural location too and be very successful there, right? But when it comes to funding, which is often important, we know that USDA makes distinctions between where they draw lines between urban and then rural, and then, and their programs can fall into different categories. Right now, the Urban Innovation Grant that Tony is working on focuses kind of in an urban, community gardens fall into that more urban, and they happen to have community gardens fall into more of their food grants. So everything is very, from the feds and oftentimes falling from there, are very segmented into boxes. We try not to do that because we know we can't in Kane County do it that way. But that's why I pointed it out, is because, for certain categories, these names evoke certain things.
Did that answer your question?
I think I'll have to call Janice.
Call her tonight.
Okay.
Mr. Shepro?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could we ask Mr. Arnold that when he brings applications, he could also bring a fresh supply of those wonderful magnets, which were so popular that they were snapped up by staff before some of us got ours.
Noted.
I want to point out that these are submittals to the annual meeting, and 327 or 30 members are going to sit down and discuss it, much like the other meeting we had. So nothing goes through fast. And you might think, boy, this is a slam dunk. But that's how it's presented. when we get into discussion. So this is just as only presenting, and it can be altered too, be amended. Any other questions for Mr. Arnold? I thought the fair was really different. Wonderful participation from families because there was only food, rides. There was no exhibits from the 4-H and very few, when you go in, you can buy belt buckles and all that kind of stuff. So, but it was put together fast, but the people were there, which was really important, the families. Steve?
I do want to report the 4-H holds a blue ribbon livestock sale every year at the county fair. And I don't know the number of 4-Hers that exhibited. I would estimate it to be 50 or 60 that sold livestock through that sale. It raised $143,000 for 4-Hers. And if you want to know the price of a rooster, the grand champion standard rooster brought $2,000. It was purchased by a grandfather.
Always good to have grandpa bidding.
Mighty expensive backyard chicken.
Mr. Shepro?
I understand that our state's attorney and our sheriff also bought Grand Champion animals. And I had to explain to somebody that it was my impression that they were not bought for the purpose of providing dinner, but then that they, like the turkeys on Thanksgiving, received a pardon and taken somewhere. And I don't want, if I'm wrong, I don't want to hear that. But I did have a question about the 4-H. I don't know that this is the appropriate place, but for many years past, we've had a 4-H government day, which I think usually was in May. And I wondered if there were plans. I don't think we had it last year because of the pandemic, but it always seemed like a fun event. And I wondered if there were plans to bring that back or to have it this year.
Well, you got to call the extension service. But I think that they weren't ready to do it, but I don't know.
Okay.
But-
I thought you and Ms. Wodnicki usually ran it here.
Well, but I've learned not to step out of line, see? We don't want to start trouble, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Thank you for that. And I'd like to make one comment. I did go to the fair and when it first opened up, but I was unable to attend the auction. But previously, I've attended the auction, and it is one of my favorite parts of the fair. My observation is here are these young men and young women who are managing a steer that weighs, I have no tons, maybe. And these young ladies are soaking wet at 90 pounds. But the generosity, the true generosity of the farmers who give their hard-earned money for these scholarship funds is just to be commended. The children, the young adolescents are so proud of their achievements. You can see it. And the nurturing of these future farmers it just makes my heart smile. So it is one of my favorite parts of the fair. And afterward is the ice cream.
Okay, if there's any more questions of Mr. Arnold, then we'll go to the Northern Illinois Food Bank. Is Susie Garcia, is she on the line? Well, we don't have a representative here now from them. Anybody know anything about them?
The last I heard, she was supposed to be available, but
You have to speak into these things like that.
The last I heard, she was supposed to be available to represent the food bank, but I haven't spoken to her recently, so I don't know if something changed in her schedule. But I could
I
check.
give them money.
Mr. Armstrong?
Oh, it's possible maybe she's not available with the late start since it's now almost 11. So maybe.
Yes, maybe we need to, maybe Madam Chairman can speak to that other committee and they have to be more timely. I memean, sat in the hallway and waited. This is not the first month either.
Well, I will let them know of your concerns.
Hopefully it'll be done, but, so should we move on to Growing for Cane to Matt Tinsley?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today, I'm happy to share a couple of Growing for Cane program updates. To start with, I wanted to highlight a couple of new resources that we've been looking at, and we've been spending time trying to educate ourselves on this theme and this practice of regenerative agriculture. It's something that we see as increasingly important, and we're trying to share as many of these new resources that are becoming available with Kane County farmers. And so let's see if I can get this to move. There we go. So there are a couple of new program initiatives that are sponsored by the Wallace Foundation. And I may have mentioned the Wallace Foundation in some of my previous presentations, and we've really looked to them as a resource. They're a really important organization when it comes to promoting sustainable food and agriculture, and they've really been an important player in developing new resources to help organizations and farmers that want to pursue that. And so two that I want to highlight, the first is one that Janice has talked about before, is the Pasture Project. And it's really focused on supporting regenerative practices as they relate to grazing practices, and focused on supporting healthy soil and helping farm businesses to be viable that want to use these practices. And then the second is another initiative called the Regenerative Agriculture Idea Network. And this was developed to be really a support community for organizations and individuals that want to support and advocate for regenerative agriculture. So it's kind of meant to be this learning network where people and organizations can go to learn and to share and to advance these ideas. And so the Pasture Project has a couple of upcoming trainings, and we want to promote these through the Growing for Cane newsletter. So we'll be sharing that with our community of farmers. And they're meant to primarily to support organizations and groups that help farmers. So this could be, educational networks such as U of I Extension, or other groups that support farmers, local community organizations. And then the Regain, the Regenerative Grazing Agriculture program, has a scholarship and a grant program. And this is designed to help individuals and organizations that want to better educate themselves on regenerative practices. So these are just two programs that we want to promote and share with Kane County farmers and the organization that support them as well. And so now I'm just going to shift gears and move back into some of the Growing for Cane programs that we're working on. And we're at, I would say, an exciting transition point in the Farm to School program. So we are winding down the USDA grant funded portion of the program. But it's been an opportunity for us to make some really important final investments in the program to support it going forward into the future. So I just wanted to share some of the purchases and investments that we've been making in the past month to really give this program a boost. This includes, among other things, an outdoor greenhouse to help extend the growing season at the JJC, so they can start growing a little bit earlier, and they can carry the growing season later into the fall. And we've also purchased a couple of orchard trees to expand the apple orchard now, which is at about 9 apple orchard trees. and some additional textbooks for the science program and an additional indoor growing system to help the indoor growing production, just because the tower gardens have really been a great asset, but there's only so much that you can grow with those. But they're great because you can use them throughout the year. So we want to increase the ability for them to do that throughout the year. A few other material investments. We purchased a soaker hose just to make it easier to water the gardens. It's just a hose that has holes throughout it, so it can just be set up, and it's just a lot easier, and it's going to save the JJC staff some time on the garden and watering. And just some additional health and safety supplies. The garden clogs make it a lot easier for the students to work and to be out in the garden comfortably, and some additional garden gloves to go along with that, and a pretty extensive seed purchase that we made, which is going to last for years to come. So it's really going to support the program into the future. And then lastly, one of the more exciting improvements to the garden is a planned extension of the mural that was started about a year ago. And so we were able to use the funding to pay for the art supplies as well as the design and planning for the mural extension. And so you can see the new mural rendering up there as it extends off of the existing garden mural. So it's really just going to help make this space a much more inviting and relaxing and a comforting space for the students that are working there. And then lastly, I've talked about the new JJC Farmers in the Classroom series. And I wanted to just share kind of a progress update on where we're at with recruiting a farmer. And so right now we do have a preferred candidate that we're looking to work with. He is the manager of the Roots and Wings Farm, which is a community farm based in Rockford, Illinois. And it does have, it's an urban agriculture program, and it incorporates a number of elements that we were excited about, because it's very focused on promoting urban agriculture to students and students in an urban setting. And they also manage a garden at one of the affordable housing complexes in Rockford as well. So it's meant to serve unfortunate individuals that are underserved in their communities. So this manager has a lot of experience with that, and so we thought he'd give a great presentation to the students at the JJC. So we're really looking forward to working with him. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Mavis has a question.
So how is your seed vault going to work?
I don't know that we consider it a seed vault.
Is that what you called it?
That was the name of the kit. That's just what the company called it.
You don't have a salt mine to put these underground?
No, not at this time. We don't have a salt mine for that.
Okay, we'll work on that for you.
So, yeah.
Mr. Arnold?
Provided your mural rendering.
I might have to follow up with you on the name of the contractor. It's someone that the JJC has worked with to do some of their previous murals inside the complex as well. I can.
Very nice, and if Ms. Walnick won't do a mural rendering for me.
I'd be happy to connect you for sure.
Maybe we could contract our transportation people and have a mural painted in the tunnel up on Stearns Road so that the graffiti people will be discouraged. Because I think a mural, when it's a pleasant thing, would stop some of that stuff. So you can call them and see if we could do that. I have friends that would supply the paint.
I think that's an excellent idea. Outside art is supported. When we opened up the multipurpose building, we had the poet laureate speak from Aurora, and she approached me afterwards, seriously asking me and encouraging me to have more art, public art here in Kane County. So that's an exceptionally good idea.
Are there any other questions? We're not going to let him off the hook this easy, are we? All right. I hope you're going ahead with your library. I've purchased some books through Barnes and Noble, Gardening for Idiots or something like that. And maybe we could use that. First time people have to know you can't just plant a tree and think it's going to grow without bugs finding it. And you, my friend, I have friends, and they had all of their cherries were destroyed by bugs. And so you have to take care of things just like everything else. What about local farms passports? Are you done, Matt?
Yes, that concludes my
And
report.
we did challenge you though.
Okay, I'm up. Somebody's gonna pull up my slide. Somebody behind the scenes there. Is that Blair working behind the scenes?
Blair? Dennis thinks
The
you're,
man behind the scenes. I know he's,
yeah, don't pay no attention to that guy.
yeah, I know there's one slide before my presentation that I sent him this morning that is my previous slide. You know that our team does a lot of, lately in particular, we've done surveys and we've done phone calls to reach out to our farmers, especially during COVID. And it was really helpful to get a feel for what's going on. But there's nothing like talking to a farmer one-on-one in terms of learning their experience and their depth of knowledge. And of course, we get that when we come here. And, you know, we've had many conversations with Steve Arnold over the years about, you know, what we can do to encourage the viability of our farms, because with the viability, then you get the land protection and all those other things. He had the slide up. There we go. If you could just make it bigger, I want them to just like, there you go. Those are the strawberries. So those are gone now, I have to say, except for some that are in my freezer. And that lettuce was like a romaine. I really feel like it was a romaine red lettuce cross because it was just lovely. And I got it at Wiltsey's on Sunday. It was Father's Day weekend. I went out there kind of on a whim. And I love all the farms in Kane County, but all for different things. But I go to Wiltsey's for their strawberries because their strawberries are awesome. Anybody knows that for strawberries, it's a very short window and you have to get there. And it was just lucky that they had the strawberries and Kate was there because, and this is one of the benefits of when you go to the farm is that you can talk to the farmer. And I've had, this is an ongoing conversation that we have with our farmers. And I talked to Kate and she was saying, I said, it's just like a lovely, like less than 10-minute drive for me to get here. And she said, yeah, people don't realize that we're just, even though we're close to the county line, we are really less than, 10 minutes from Randall Road. People just do not realize what's on the other side of Randall Road and what we have here. And she said, we could really just use some kind of, tourism effort for Kane County, for our local farms, not just for us, but for all the farms that would help people be able to kind of tour through and taste and get a feel for what's out here. And so I said, I'm going to talk to Mark about that. And I did. And as always, when I have an idea, Mark encourages me to go ahead and research it or whatever. But, we're really busy right now with work and I didn't have time to work for it as much as I wanted to, but then it just kept coming back because good ideas do. And so trying to see if I can get this to go forward. Maybe Matt, you can do it for me because I'm just technically challenged always. So here, oh, I see. So he's setting it up. That's why. So with that, then today, what you're going to have is nothing for action today. This is just a concept that I put together, trying to bring together some of the research that I've started on this topic and some of the things that I think we all know all have experienced in Kane County, and some of the things we've learned from our research, from our investigations with our farmers, some things we already have online that we're working on, like our virtual farmers market, some things we have grants for, some things we've learned from the surveys from our farms, some things we've learned from our research with other communities, because we always look around to see what everybody else is doing. And then some other deeper research to see what's out there, and just starting to put together a concept for your consideration. And it's not final. And also, I think what the other thing, two things that are good takeaways as well, is that it's also good for us to kind of step away from just like that food and farm focus and just thinking about food and farms, but how we can think across sectors, so to speak, and think about, because you see the title is like Food, Farm, and Nature for this passport, and how we can think about those things together and the benefits of those and health, and not just for visitors, but for our own residents and for us that live and work here. I live here, many of us do, and all the things we have right at our feet that are so awesome. And so that's the idea of the passport. Is that there are lots of wonderful trails, whether you're biking, walking, driving through Kane County to experience locally grown food, locally grown farms, historic farms, rustic roads, nature, protected lands, and experience those. Now, some communities will wrap those up in what they call a passport program. So I'm going to now get you through these. I'm entitling that for right now, River to Field, taking it from east to west, from the Fox River all the way east, to experience some of these things, whether they might be natural in our forest preserve holdings, our bike trails, our Fox River. We know that we have something that could be coming up, and that could be our national designation for the Fox River Trail. That will be a magnificent designation for a water trail for the Fox River. We have our farmland and everything that produces. We have our oak areas, savannas. We have all of our bike trails that lead, and other land trails that lead to the Fox River. We're gifted with lots of things, and also things that we've worked to protect. There was a recent report that showed that our tree cover in Kane County increased by 5%, where in other counties that number is much less. We know that provides a cooling effect, a natural effect to protect biodiversity. Birds, all kinds of things that are very important. We also have restaurants that work with our local food, and that's very important. We know our restaurant industry suffered quite a bit recently, but that's not only healthy for us, but it's also an economic driver. This cover from the magazine was from 2008. It's been a long time since we've had some coverage about that, but that's significant. We also have, it's kind of under represented, I think, in terms of the media coverage, but we have a significant equestrian sector in Kane County. It's covered a bit in our Kane County plan, but it's certainly there. And then, of course, fishing is a major activity and growing activity when I started to look at the research. And so the concept, again, is to use the potential Fox River designation as a liftoff point, and think of that as a potential to move east to west in this concept of promoting the food and farm theme, broaden it to include all of the activities that we offer, both in our built environment and in our natural environment. I know from the Visitors Bureau, they like to see more activity when you have overnight stays. So there's the potential of getting people to not just use the Fox River for a one-day activity for kayaking and canoeing, but stay overnight and then experience and use our local food and farm activities is the idea. And then what you have on the left is a map that I pulled from KDOT, where they've definitely taken our bike trails and connected them to our forest preserve, our protected lands. But wouldn't that be cool to show some of our food stops there as well, and to create trails and activities from that as a starting point. Another huge activity, I follow this on Facebook, our nature photographers. This is a major, major thing, not just in Kane County, but nationally and internationally, right? Lots of photographers that are taking photos along the Fox River in particular. So of course I had to look into the data on that. And yes, it is definitely a thing. And not only that, outdoor recreation happens in all industries and affects all industries. And there are statistics around that as well. And there are ways to both document, capture that data, and then exploit it to a community's advantage should that community decide to do that. And that there are companies that will work with the communities should they decide to do that. And so I wanted to dig a little bit deeper. This is just the first skim off the top about how that might happen. Is this whole passport concept. Now, it's done in different ways, and some of these ideas were taken especially during COVID, because that was the only time when, or I shouldn't say the only time, but people really liked, only place you could really go do outside activities were the only place you could do activities. You have on the far right, this was from Georgia. They gave kind of like the stories of different family type activities that families could do. This was more, what they promoted was using the smartphone, and kind of gave examples of you can't travel right now, but you can travel locally. And these are the kind of things you can do, mother and son, retirees, make memories. And these are the places you can do it. And then of course, there's the whole geotagging with that. The example on the left is a multi-county area. And what they're doing is even broader. And I like this idea as something to grow into. You buy a passport that's broader than just visiting a couple farms, but there's a possibility to add in local food access promotion and farm conservation. So there's an ability to donate to those good causes as part of that. And there's promotions and you can win prizes. So you're not just visiting the farms, but you can help contribute to those good efforts happening in the county. So of course that appealed to me as well. And so, these are examples from KDOT's website, just their photos. Wouldn't it be a great idea again to add those farm stops? And then, there are challenges too. Not everything is rosy. For the people that do studies on this, we know that, during COVID, yes, people were outside, but now that there are opportunities to go back inside and do indoor activities, some of the participation is dropping, and it's dropping among different groups, minority groups. The numbers are dropping, women. So we don't have equity and participation, and yet we really do need that for better health. So there's opportunities to present a concept like this and encourage better participation among all groups. And so something for us to consider, because we are a public entity. If we were to do this, our goal is to lift everyone up, right? And not just one group. So the data is there, something to consider and work in. Also, one of our other projects that we are working on right now is that virtual farmers market. We received money from Compeer Financial. We're learning right now about that. Steve Arnold and our staff, we were all on a call with the State Farm Bureau and their market maker and their team to learn more about how we might connect our farmers into this program. So it's kind of a seamless effort to get their farms better visibility through e-commerce and virtual farmers markets. This is really the way that things are going to be from now on. I think we all learned this from COVID. One of the biggest challenges for farmers during COVID, they had to get online quickly if they weren't already. So now I think it's a challenge of how do we market Kane County farmers together as a group, but still let them have their individuality because they have their preferred ways of doing business. But at the same time, we want to showcase Kane County farmers together as a group. So we're working on this. You'll hear more in the future. And then there's this other awesome program that's happening right now. Again, it's a pilot working with farmers. It's called the Farmers to Food Bank Program, partnership with Illinois Farm Bureau, Illinois Farmers Market Association, and Feeding America. And the idea is that Feeding America will purchase food from farmers that are willing to sell. So they'll go to the food pantries, but they will pick it up from sites where those farmers are already going to be there, such as in Kane County, the Elgin Farmers Market. So this is a test to see how this can all work, but it's already underway, and I'm really happy to see that one of the sites will be in Elgin. So we can continue some of these efforts and work them into our concept if it moves forward. So I see this whole thing, again, it's a concept. It can be an economic driver for the county in the broadest sense, but also for our farmers, which is essential. Farm viability is everything for our farmers, for our land base. And we can also work to achieve health equity for better health in terms of what people eat and getting outdoors and having better activity for residents and visitors. So I see it as a win-win-win. There's a lot to learn with that, but that's the concept. So I'm not sure if anyone has any questions or if you just want to kind of absorb it right now and we'll come back to it.
Jarrett?
I know you're still working on this idea, but what do you see would be your ask of the county board? Is it funding to create the Passport app? Would that be the primary need, or what would it be?
Yeah, thank you. So Janice and our team has been working on developing these programs, over the last, decade. And they have done a great job of applying for grants from Compeer, from the USDA and whatever, but they're typically small chunk grants. If your question is related to the American Rescue Plan Act funds, I think there's an opportunity to really supercharge and accelerate these efforts to not be dependent on these exterior grants and really make these things happen quickly. That would have a huge economic boost to our farmers to recover and even grow and be more sustainable past COVID. A lot of things, across the board that everybody learned, but particularly our local growers and farmers. So we're going to be kind of collecting from grant applications that we already have, put in and made that we have budgets for that maybe weren't funded or maybe they're pending, as well as these newer ideas, figuring out what a budget might be in order to make those happen.
Okay, yeah, my next thought was, sounds like something that could come from the American Rescue Plan. So I would definitely recommend you reach out to the committee chair and other members of that committee on this.
Thank you, great timing.
If I may, a study was done. We were talking yesterday, Mark and with Jared, and the Elgin Tourism Bureau, as well as the Aurora Tourism Bureau. If you look at the map, so it would go north-south, but the central part of Kane County does not have a tourism bureau. And it goes out west, there is no tourism bureau. So agribusiness is incredibly important for Kane County, not only for industry and development of product for the farmers, whether they're retail farmers or wholesale farmers. But what's more important, I think, to all of us and all of us to consider is the importance of farmland and the protection of farmland here in Kane County. And as you bring people out to the farms, especially people who are not as close to the farms as we are here in Kane, there is a growing appreciation for the importance of that. And Kane County is a rare county that has both urban and rural. And I would want to protect that at all to the best ability that we can. And by having people go out, and I mean that in all sincerity, to have people go out to the farms to see what farms are like and knowing where their food is grown locally and to be able to purchase that, there's going to be a growing awareness of the need to protect the land. And we do know we have some of the farmers, as you have shared with me, some of the best land here in the country. So this may be a way that we can gain industry, gain tourism appropriately so, but also to have a growing awareness of our farmers and support them.
Are there any more? Oh, Mavis, thank you.
Hi, I'm still here.
I didn't think we'd make it.
It's a short question. I hope it has a short answer. So Janice, do you encourage organic farming with our urban farmers? Are you encouraging organic? Because as we want to save our soils, save our farms.
Right. Well, we encourage all farming, but I will say from the standpoint of soils, you're right. Soil protection and water are underlying work that we do because we do have to have good soils and retain those soils and retain the water quality, quantity, all of that in order to support that land. So in terms of the production choice, that's the operator's choice. That can change over time in terms of what they choose to do. But obviously the underpinnings to that is, we have to have the land base first and then work to work on soil. There's so many, it's a complex issue, and I'm not a soil scientist, and I'm certainly not a water specialist. We have Jody here, but I will say that all of the production methods right now have efforts to work on those things. You don't have to rely on one right now. In today's climate, all of the production methods have education and training to work toward protecting and improving soil and water quality. And in fact, when we go for grants now, we have to prove that that's what we're doing.
Mr. Chairman,
Suggest you go to the Forest Preserves exhibit that's going to be done showing the root system that comes down. And I think that's pretty neat because their roots are like 6 foot deep of prairie grass. Is there anything else to come before the committee?
Mr. Chairman, this is Alan.
Oh, Mrs. Allen, I thought you were asleep.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and the committee. Madam Chairman, I just wanted to say thanks for the seamless transition. The county has been working for more time than I've been around to try and make sure that we protect our soil, our farms, and to see our support continue for farmland protection and nurturing through this committee and other efforts. We've had Janice Hill working her whole career towards this, and Jody Walnick as well on soil and water. And Jared is chairman of the ARP committee. I just wanted to say, isn't this an opportunity for us to go outside the box a bit and find economic improvements that we can do, tying our farmers together, our consumers together, those of us who eat, and those of us who enjoy the Fox River, one of our largest assets, and Karen Miller, who's been working on the Fabulous Fox program now for a number of years. So it's just, Mr. Kenyon, congratulations on having a committee that just ties all of the important stuff of Kane County together, and having our chairman be someone who's willing to support all of that. So thanks so much.
Okay, I need a motion for unanimous consent to place the reports on file. Mr. Shepro makes it. Is there a second?
Leonard moves.
Okay. So before we adjourn, before our executive session. Haha, we don't have one. I have a question and a prize. On what day is the Farm Bureau holding a drive-in barbecue dinner?
August 12th.
Oh, man. You win
Pay
the prize,
attention.
which is a free ticket to
For
the
the truck?
barbecue dinner.
Oh, for the barbecue.
Mr. Arnold will give it to you. So you have to pay attention. Mr. Brown does. So I want you to go further than your passport. It's the National Take a Farmer to Lunch program. Be a weekly event. Now, we need a motion to adjourn.
Brown will move.
Brown moves, Jarrett seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye.